Hello. This is episode 268 of the King and the Sting podcast. I am the backwoods area that Theo Von grew up in. This is the Brendan Shop CTE once again.
Yes.
And thank you for listening.
CTE embodied. If a human being was walking, if CTE could be a sentient being, it's me right here.
I was going to say Brendan Shop.
This is our third
attempt, dude. Fucking hell. Third attempt.
Billy, where are you?
Let me fucking zip this up as
Billy.
well. Like a fucking unprofessional.
Jesus Christ. You're going to get us kicked off YouTube before we...
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's all right.
We can't have that.
Everyone's watching.
It's true. I'm sorry.
Yeah, guys, we've had ourselves a day. We recorded an entire hour and a half before this. And because my laptop is an archaic piece of shit, things have gone sideways and casualties have been had. Mm-hmm. That's why Billy is such an important piece to the show.
Yes, he actually is.
He's a massive piece to the show because I am a retard. And especially when it comes to this, you guys know that. Anybody that's listened to this show in the past knows that the theme of this show is technical difficulties.
That's how it goes, really.
But anyway, Eddie.
How do you do?
Thank you.
Eduardo.
Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Of course. No, thank you for having me.
Good thing we both have nothing to do today.
Good thing. Yeah, brother, we've got fuck all going on, actually. Well, I mean, I don't know. How do you want to start, like, how we met?
Well, I was going to say, it's, before we get into all that, what we're doing right now is much better than what the alternative would have been, which would have been me going to work.
Yes.
Going to work, as we know, we're very much opposed on the show. That's another theme of the show.
Anti-work.
Jobs, anti-job.
Anti-jobs, got it.
Yeah, that's Steve Jobs' aunt, anti-jobs.
Anti-job. All right. Okay. Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah. So instead, what I did was I told my boss I had an emergency that doesn't exist.
He's not listening.
No, I hope he is. So what are you going to do, fire me? Fire me. What the fuck do I care?
You'll just get another job.
Yeah, lick my balls.
Yeah, he'll quit another job on the first day.
Yes.
Did you tell that?
I did. On my
He quit the first day. Fucking guy quit the first day, dude. I knew someone who got fired from McDonald's on the first day for making a McGangbang.
Really?
And was like, you can't fucking eat on the job. He's like, we're not eating it right now, right? Nobody ordered it. And then he got fired.
Imagine that. That's like Michael Jordan getting cut from his freshman team. Like
for doing something ridiculous. Yeah.
I've never been fired.
No?
But it's on the list. Like, I need to. I feel like I have to. I've been bad.
This podcast will be the catalyst.
I've been a bad employee, definitely. But
everybody has.
Yeah.
Jobs
suck. They all suck.
Well, the job sucks. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, that's just, everybody has, you got to work a shit job. You got to work a bullshit job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As David
forever
would say. Sometimes it's forever, yeah. But
sucks, right?
Yeah, but like we can't all be, we can't all be VTubers.
Right,
we can't have
right.
OnlyFans. Some of us are not cute enough to have OnlyFans. Some of us are not funny enough to have well, to be fair, a lot of people are not funny about podcasts.
Right.
That being said, they still get a lot of views.
I love all the, obviously podcasts are huge, and there's so many different, subcultures, but there's so many that you can just grab. Like, there's obviously comedy podcasts where it's all comedians, but then there's, the men podcasts.
Those are lame.
Where it's like, you got to take cold showers, and you got to do 300 push-ups every morning, and you got to go out and make thousands of dollars by the afternoon.
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of guys sitting in a room saying the same thing the last guy just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the one that always gets me is they get 10 fucking girls to sit around and they have the most brain dead. Every dude has the most brain dead take. I'm making money, so I got to be the provider. And she goes, yeah, but, and he goes, no, I'm always making money. You know what I mean? I'm out here. I'm working my day. I'm working my ass off all day, all night, while you're over there spending my blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, you are making a YouTube podcast. You get $750 an episode because of your sponsorships. And on top of that, all the bullshit you're saying is so fucking surface level dude stuff. Like, you know what I had heard once? One time I heard a guy was like, let me put you on some Riz, right? Let me give you free Riz. And he was like, if you're going to bring a girl over and you want her to sleep with you, you need to have snacks. And I'm like,
now you're thinking.
So a good host. Like, literally, it's just being a nice host.
I know.
Have snacks for her. And make it smell nice. And I'm like, you mean the shit that you should already be doing?
Yeah, that for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, that's how you get bitches. And it's like, I think that's how you get anybody to like you, bro.
Yeah.
It's foolishness.
You can. That's advice that my grandmother could fucking give me.
No, exactly. That's what's fun. Like, bro, a lot of this advice is also shit that your mom should tell you.
Yeah.
But these are also, to be
But
fair,
that's what it is. The
motherless men.
Yeah, the people that really, really like these guys and take their advice and don't. Like, I watch them because it's funny and because you can make fun of them. Like, I think Andrew Tate is hilarious. But
He is hilarious. That's funny. I just got my PhD from Hustlers University.
That's right. That's right. I forgot
just graduated
about that.
from Hustlers University.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hustlers.
Appreciate it.
What was it again? You said
Oh, in PUA, pickup artistry.
pickup artistry.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. Trying to
That's right.
trying to rizz up girls.
Yes.
So wrote my dissertation on that.
That's
actually.
fantastic. Minoring in sex
Minors.
trafficking.
No. No. Not doing that. But
Yeah, that's a tough program to get into anyway. But
yeah, it's even harder to get out.
yeah, sure. Some say you have to hang yourself in a jail cell.
All right, cool.
Quote, unquote.
Quote unquote.
It's also nice that it's 3:30 in the afternoon. Neither of us are working, but we are drinking. We're able to drink.
It's quite nice. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful day.
A little gin in the middle of the day.
It is lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was listening to George Thorogood the other day.
Yeah. Okay.
But he has that song, One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer.
Okay.
Fantastic. That's a great drinking song.
Ooh.
There's some songs that you listen to it, and you're like, I can drink a lot to this. Like, we were just listening to the blues earlier. You could drink to the blues all night, obviously, because it's...
Sad.
Yeah. Well, it can be.
Depressing music, yeah.
It's funny because I don't look at that music as sad, even though what they're talking about is sad and it's called the blues. But and obviously there's so many iterations of it. But definitely good drinking music. Totally.
Nice.
I want to sit in a dusty saloon and listen to that.
You definitely do get, you get that at a couple bars. You know, like some bars around New York City try to have like a dive bar. Sometimes they are dive bars. Sometimes they have the dive bar aesthetic. So there's one dive bar in particular that plays this guy, Johnny Paycheck. You listen to Johnny Paycheck?
No.
It's like this country guy from the 70s. You know, kind of like, I guess he has a little outlaw thing going. But he has, a lot of his songs are actually really nice. Like, just like fun, cute little country songs. He has one called She's All I Got.
Right.
I'm telling you, friend, don't take her, she's all I got. And you're just like, man, sitting here just thinking about her. You're just like,
Yeah, whoever
Clarissa.
she is. Sweet Clarissa.
Yeah.
She was my sister.
No. Jesus.
And my wife.
What a, yeah. Why do you want to have sex with your sister? Because she's so damn attractive.
Yeah.
You're a
Ain't
big
nobody
guy.
else gonna do it.
You're a
Only
big
me.
Jebediah fucking Barbosa over here.
I've recently gotten into, I do like country music now. For a while, anytime you bring up country music, that's one of the ones people are like, oh, God. And I was one of them.
Oh, yeah, and then?
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it.
I've gotten to like some of it, like a little
I've gone to, okay.
little George Jones.
Okay, the stepfather of genres. Just don't really like it in the beginning. Now I like a couple things about
that's
it.
a good analogy.
Yeah.
Country music is the stepfather of genres.
Yeah, you're kind of embarrassed by it. Someone puts it on, you're like, all right, dude, I don't really want to see you.
Yeah, I miss
And then-
Dad. Dad's like rock music.
I miss blues.
It's like classic rock.
Classic rock. Yeah, well, what about those classic rock bands that get real southern? Like what about Allman Brothers Band?
like
Were you
Lynyrd
fucking with
Skynyrd.
yeah, what about southern rock?
I
or
fuck
Lynyrd-
with that. I can fuck with the southern rock.
Yeah.
I think my problem with country music used to be that I thought they all talked about the same thing. My cousin left me, my dog died, and my wife left me, same thing. My cousin died, my truck driving in my truck. I want to go to a beach. Like,
Yeah, we just want to sing the songs about the good times
Yeah.
and then the bad. And you're just like, sure. You know what I mean?
but then I mean, you think of any genre of music that has lyrics. Like hip hop does the same thing. They talk about the same shit.
yeah, Percocet, codeine, fucking hoes, making money, driving in
Clothes.
Bugattis, AMGs, blah, 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 blah.
Killing
Killing motherfuckers, shooting
their
ops.
friends getting killed.
Friends getting killed,
Being suicidal.
He's the
the only like real lamenting hip hop music or like deep, like fake deep hip hop music is usually about them wanting to kill themselves. You ever realize that?
like that's where they get real intense.
Yeah, that's
Like
where that's their like outlet to be vulnerable.
I want to kill myself. And
Yeah.
you're like, I wonder why, dude.
Yeah.
Your life's full of hedonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get that. But it's also one of those where, like, when they actually do turn, it really gets me because I'm just like, you sing about, like, one song, fucking hoes, other song, popping perks, drinking lean, doing what have you, and then a song where they're like, I hate my life, my boys are dead, I should just kill myself. And you're like, wow.
Like NBA Youngboy.
Are you okay? Yeah, are you okay? Future, are you all right, my guy?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
That song Xanax Damage?
Xanax damage.
Yeah, it's just brutal songs.
Yeah.
I think the saddest. Do you like sad songs?
I do like sad songs.
Yeah,
I like
right?
sad songs. It's funny enough, actually, sad songs are the ones that, in some regards, make me the most happiest. There's something about them that get very real. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Certain types of music. There's definitely, they get real. You're real poppy about it. It's kind of the veneer of positivity, where it's like it doesn't acknowledge the hard times. There are a lot of songs that don't acknowledge, and then something about an entirely depressing song is beautiful because it is cathartic. Because it's like the actual revealing of one's suffering, angst, anguish, what have you. And you listen to it and you're like, this is beautiful. You know what I mean? That's why there's certain country songs that are very beautiful. They really sing from the heart. There's
Well,
a
it's
Tear in My
relatable.
Beer. Hank Williams is a really beautiful one. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Alone and Forsaken.
By
Hank Williams.
Hank Williams. Wow, jeez, dude. Oh
That
my
one's
God.
straight fucking-
Wow. Okay.
I think he was in jail when he wrote that or something.
Beautiful, but
Yeah.
but like it's that kind of stuff, and not even just country, just any genre of music. I mean, anything that you'll listen to, it'll have that.
Well, it's so much more relatable.
Way more
It's
exactly.
it's doing a different thing. Like if you listen to a song that you turn up to, it's evoking a certain emotion
yeah.
that doesn't necessarily take much deeper meaning. Like if someone's happy, they're not like, "Why am I happy today?" They just kind of take it.
They
And
take
if-
the happiness.
And if someone's sad, you're a little more susceptible, I think, to wondering why and asking
You have
why.
because you have to.
Yeah.
you have to do that. I
Yeah.
think if you acknowledge your own humanity, you have to actually sit there and go, "Why am I sad?" But most people don't go, "Why am I happy?" A lot of
Sure.
people just enjoy.
They just
that.
eat it.
They just enjoy that. Yeah, exactly. They just eat it. They just enjoy the happy moment.
That's why those pop songs, are popular because it doesn't take much. You're just like, this is lit. We get to fuck around. Rick
Dale.
James, come on.
Yeah. Pitbull, dude, Mr. Worldwide. Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
But he's,
Do you remember when he got hard when he was on stage with J-Lo? Do you remember that?
Go on.
He was performing some song with J-Lo. I forget which one. Probably a big one. And they were on stage dancing back and forth. And he had on like a white silk suit, real nice fabric. If anything brushes against it too much, you might fluff up inadvertently.
Fluff up, yes.
Inadvertently.
Yeah.
And J-Lo like danced on him for like not long at all.
And he was like
Yeah, you could see it.
a fucking.
He wasn't full. He wasn't full
No,
staff.
of course, but he's half chub.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he's
he had to take an extra step, like a big long step to undo it.
a big. Okay.
Like when like your underwear sticking to your balls and you're like,
Yeah,
You take a long step.
It's just him for J-Lo did that. Yeah, Jenny from the Block.
Jenny from the Block.
At half mass.
So what do you think's the saddest song that you've heard? Is there one that you can think? I know the real answer. Not for you, but
For you?
yeah. Well, I think for everyone if they heard this song.
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, there are some songs that I heard that freaked me out, and it's just certain tragic stories. There's I believe it's "Dance with the Devil" by Mortal Technique.
Oh, yeah, that
another
one's
big
nuts.
one.
That one's like scary.
It
That
is
one's
scary.
like-
No, it's terrifying. Absolutely. But that's what I mean. Is it's like one of those where you're like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, I heard it like on on a road trip. My brother put it on. It freaked me
Jesus.
out. Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
But there's that. There's like a super like this is such a like a sad ass song. It's called Katie's Song by this it's like this kind of like indie band from San Francisco in like the 90s called Red House Painters.
Okay.
And such a bummer. Just such a bummer. But it's one of those songs that like I listen to and I'm like, hey, it's a pretty good song actually. But it's depressing. Like it's very much depressing. Like every lyric is sad. There's no ounce of a hope in the song.
Right.
But I like it, you know? And it's one of those songs, again, it's one of those where like sometimes the saddest songs make you happy because it revels in its own sadness. It acknowledges it and it's like, I'm allowing myself to do this. And I just listen to it and I'm like, la 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 la. Like I just go on the subway listening to the song with a smile on my face.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
I mean, one of my favorite albums ever is incredibly sad. It's Faces by Mac Miller.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole thing isn't sad, but I mean, there's parts of it that are miserable.
Yes.
And it's really good. It's really good, and it's arguably the turning point of his career. But I think the saddest song that's ever written is called Sam Stone by John Prine. If those of you are listening, if you're having a good day and want to ruin it, look up that song and listen to that.
Why?
It's about. It came out like around the Vietnam War time, and it's about a soldier named Sam Stone who comes back from Vietnam with a heroin habit, and the chorus, just the chorus alone, forget the rest of the song, is so like haunting. It's there's a hole in Daddy's arm where all the money goes. Jesus Christ died for nothing, I suppose. Little pitchers have big ears. Don't stop to count the years. Sweet songs never last too long on broken radios. What the fuck, dude?
Depressing.
Just saying that out loud.
You're like, I'm hurt.
Yeah, I could cry just saying that.
I'm hurt. Keep drinking, dude.
Yeah.
Just keep drinking, actually. Honestly.
That's a good one. Nutshell by Alice in Chains. Another good
Nutshell, yeah. Oh, yeah. Alice in Chains is a pretty big one. I mean, Lane Stanley's vocals very much evoke that angst and that anguish. I would say anguish more often than not.
Yeah.
A lot of those grunge guys did, definitely. You know, I mean, their backgrounds were less than ideal, of course, but,
Yeah.
you know, I would say
They all had similar fates.
heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah, heroin, definitely.
I can imagine when you're in immense emotional pain, heroin is probably like
You get numb.
a nice Band-Aid.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now if they just lasted another 20-something years, they could have been prescribed fucking Zoloft.
Synthetic heroin.
Yeah, Zoloft.
Yeah, FDA approved heroin.
There you go.
Oh, fuck. I was going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Who knows? Who knows what that question was?
Who knows?
No, that whole era was... there was a mixture of, like, anger, but also a human element of, like, imperfectness in that grunge time, I think, in that grunge era.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those bands of that time, you know, I mean, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, and obviously, I mean, there's even the Progenitors, right? There's like Mudhoney and what have you, Melvins, even who have influenced them. You know, a lot of those, yeah. I mean, the way that I've always heard it was like it is a combination of like punk and metal. You know, it's those kind of influences coming together to make grunge. Whether it's a simplification or not is another story. But there was always something about how really, I mean, grunge is really kind of the best term to use for it. It is grungy. It's loud. It's in a way, it's obnoxious. Dirty, absolutely. I mean, they're on his first album, Bleach, and like, you know, but even the earlier kind of Soundgarden. And then when you get to like Pearl Jam, it's a little bit more like refined. You know, it's a little bit more, I guess, I don't know, not arena rocky, but it's a little bit more bombastic that if you heard at a stadium, you'd be like, oh, like if you heard Jeremy, I'm sure you heard them perform live and it hits you, you'll probably cry. You're like, oh no. But
Yeah, right.
definitely one of those.
I remember what I was going to say. It was regarding artists that die at a certain point, and it makes you wonder if they would have gotten worse if they lived. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like there are definitely certain artists where you wonder whether they've already created their magnum opus and then they ride off the coattails, or whether we could have seen a resurgence, right? Like I'm thinking of someone like David Bowie. I think his last album, Black Star, right? That was like his, like, oh, this is a good album, dude. This is a pretty good album. And then he died. Because he suffered from cancer at the time.
Right.
And so that was one of those where it's like he had one last good album in him, quote unquote, had one last good album in him. Like, you know what I mean? Where, and you think about someone like Mac Miller. Well, would Mac Miller have another good album? Right? You always wonder that.
Right.
Amy Winehouse, Back to Black, in and of itself is already a great album. You know. But even then, we're having this argument now because, again, like we're thinking about what could have been, and we said this on the Lost podcast, but, an artist is worth more dead than alive, and so we're having these conversations because we can. That's all we can do, deliberate. And it makes them more, meaningful or valuable. Should have appreciated more in their time.
Yeah. Well, also, the odds of an artist reinventing themselves, especially like the ones that died early and left such an impact, the odds of them reinventing themselves over a long period of time, over a stretched entertainment career, are pretty low. Doesn't happen super often.
No.
Like, there's a big chance, like you said, that if someone like Jim Morrison lived, he could have sucked afterwards because he couldn't find a new sound, or he couldn't reinvent himself, or people were tired of whatever he was doing. I think there's two really good indicators of the best artists, the best kinds of artists. One of them is the artist that both of them have long careers, right? That's a pretty good metric, is if they have a long career, they maintain relevance. But the way they do it, if they can either maintain what it is that they've done and refine it and keep it the same way, like the Rolling Stones, for example, and just make it really, really good and do that for a really long time.
Yep.
There's a certain skill to that. Or you have someone like Mac Miller or Miles Davis or somebody else that continuously reinvents their sound.
Like every album, it's a different thing.
Yes, and it does well every time. Like they're able, it's like, wow, this is their new shit. This sounds different and good still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely get that with a lot of artists, right? And it's even like, what is the longevity of a musician? There was a guy on YouTube. His name's Todd in the Shadows. He kind of talks about this in. He has a series called Train Records, where he just talks about shit albums. An album that completely just derailed an artist's career. And he made this reference during, funny enough, Katy Perry's last album, Witness, which is dog.
Oh, yeah.
Way. Don't bother. Not sorry, Katy.
Yeah,
But
she's listening.
hope you're doing well. But it is one of those where he was discussing what makes sort of an artist who's kind of a hit maker, right? What brings you to the level of longevity, right? Staying power. Because there's a difference between the fans will only be there as long as you keep making the hits, which is probably, the Katy Perry category. And then having the core audience where they're your ride or dies. You could release absolute dog. And they'll stick with
And
you
they'll
100%.
still like you.
Yeah, musicians, that's your Princes, right? And I think no matter what Prince would ever have done, still going to have that. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift could have an album for really just yelling into a microphone for an hour, and people will be like, I'll still listen to it,
Yeah.
Lou Reed did Metal Machine Music, which is such a dog album, like well regarded as one of the worst albums of all time. But even then, people are just like, yeah, he might have just... people will justify that album. Self-Portrait by Bob Dylan, another dog album. But people are like, well, the justifications will still be there. As opposed to an artist who, Katy Perry's Witness, where nobody's justifying that album. Nobody's listening to that album.
Right.
Nobody cares about that album.
Right.
Sorry, Katy.
Well, it's because those other artists like Lou Reed and Bob Dylan, who are actually very similar. I always look at Lou Reed as like a darker Bob Dylan.
Really? Lyrical or
sound,
sonically?
lyrical? Yeah. Both of them are doing it because they're attempting to push boundaries and do what we're talking about and reinvent themselves. Whereas someone like Katy Perry is doing the other thing of like trying to flood the market with the same shit she's done. Only thing is it's literally the same. Like when I say the same thing, like
It's what you would expect from an album like hers.
right.
Unfortunately. But
Now, let me
happens.
another example I'm thinking of is someone like Khabib, and this is a different Khabib Nurmagomedov. This is a different discipline completely.
We're talking about MMA?
Khabib
From
Nurmagomedov.
Antonio, how surprising.
But his style has been the same the whole time. His method of winning is taking you down and smashing your face and submitting you. But over time, all he's done is add to that.
Yes.
So now his stand-up on the feet fighting, not his stand-up comedy,
No.
but
Smash.
his punches and kicks have gotten significantly better. But overall, he has his style, which is similar to, like I said, the Rolling Stones, where they've added new things and played around, but they still have their style, whereas Katy Perry has done zero. Like, she's done the exact same thing, just like Taylor Swift has done the exact same thing, and that's why they're mainstream hits, because they have tons of money to keep playing and playing and playing, and eventually get inundated, and you're like, yeah, baby, I'm a firework.
Yep.
Goddamn right.
Yeah. I mean, even Taylor Swift, I would say, not even a big Taylor Swift fan, but even
No,
then,
she's
like
the worst.
Even then, I'll listen to her songs and I'll be like, all right, you're doing something different. The unfortunate part, and that's the thing about, frankly, certain artists, is like whether you there's a band, don't want to talk shit, but I will. Waves.
That's what this is for.
California band. They have in the 2010s, I mean, that indie sound was stoner, reverb, indie. If you grew up in California at the time, immaculate, dude. If you listen to Waves, it was cool. You know, it's not like Linus Spacehead or King of the Beach. But one of the things is there was an interview with the band, and it was like the bassist or the drummer who was like, yeah, man, like we're just trying to like do stuff that like, you know, no one's ever really heard before. And it's the same 3-chord song about pussy, weed, beer, and the beach and cats. And you're like, you're not changing shit. You're just singing about the same things. And your head's up your own hole that you're just like, yeah, man, like we're changing the sound. Yeah, what do you have to change about 3 chords and singing about pussy and beer and weed? Like, dude, every 20-year-old guy already does that. Like, you're not special. Which is unfortunate, but
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if you get some kind of success with it, then ride it out till you can.
ride it until, which I understand, but don't tell me, oh yeah, you know, we're trying to do something we've never done before. A 20-year-old man singing about pussy and wait, everybody's done that.
Yeah. Now you don't talk like this, even though we're here in New York.
I don't talk like that.
That's because you're from California.
I'm a California
Why don't
boy.
you tell these fucking broads and fucking assholes that are listening?
Yeah.
What's it like growing up in California?
Well,
Because
you know, I mean, you know, it's what do people want to say? People are like, well, you live in a liberal hellhole. Tell you what, though, it's a nice liberal hellhole. I'll tell you that right now.
nice weather.
Most people who move from California and go anywhere else, they will tell you, I want to go back to California. And the guys who don't are the guys who were there on January 6th. You definitely meet, because everybody wants, you know, there's the big like influx or outflux of people. You know, people want to move to Texas. People want to move to southern states. They're like, hey, you love more freedom or what have you. But, dude, I got to tell you, it's the weather, it's the food, it's the weed, it's the women, it's kind of everything. Like, the one thing that really got me, so, moved here, and there's a couple things that got me, right? So, people say this one thing, misnomer or what have you, that people from California are nice, but they're not kind. And I think people have
Other way
that,
around, I think. Oh, no, you're right. You're
yeah,
right.
nice, but they're not
Yeah,
kind.
yeah.
And I think it's the preconceived notion of, you know, oh, it's all influencers and like wannabe actors and the people are fake and blah, blah, blah. And no, because you literally, again, you know what that's like? It's like if you got every piece of information you learned about New York from Times Square.
Right.
You'd be like, it's a shithole.
That's
It'd be
just
like, you're a
one-
fucking,
yeah.
you're a fool. You're a simpleton. Do you know
Not
what I
even
mean?
just Times Square, just New York City as a whole.
Yeah,
There's
and
so much more to New York.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
inversely, people will say, yeah, but New Yorkers, they're not nice, but they're kind. You know what I mean? They'll help you out. And I got to tell you, no. Firstly, New Yorkers here can really suck ass. I mean, stink up a fucking place, right? Like, I've 9:25, 9:30 in the morning, getting off the subway. I'm going to class, and a man is smoking crack.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this man's. We talked about this before. Again,
Crackheads are
you're
up. They're
starting at 9:30. They are up.
He's up.
But it's like, dude, 9:30. I always
He
thought
slept an hour and a half.
I thought of crack as an afternoon activity. You're starting with crack?
I'd have to assume they do it multiple times. I think you'd have to start with crack, middle of the day. The crack wears off. I hear crack is like a 15-minute high. And the first like drag you take is the highest you're going to be the whole time.
Okay.
Which is why they keep chasing it, I think. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would think if I was a crackhead, I would want every moment to have crack involved.
Okay.
I don't know if it matters the time. I don't know if crackheads even follow the time.
I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
They just
Yeah,
follow the
suppose
sun
so.
and the tides. They're like
The
mystics.
sun. They're like mystics.
Crackheads are our mystics out
Yeah,
here, bro.
but I mean, I'm thinking about, like, you know, you wake and bake, right? You get high, you smoke weed, you wake and bake. And you're like, yeah, you get high anytime. Some people wake and bake and just mellow out. But, like, you know, can't do a fucking crack attack and just, you know, smoke at like 9:30 and then, like, I just got to keep smoking crack unless
Right,
right. You are not going to live.
Right. Oh, yeah, but he's not concerned with that. Also, you have to assume,
yeah.
what's he going to go do? He's not going to go to his Microsoft Office job. He's
Nah.
going to fucking go find more crack.
This is true.
That's the rest of his day. What better way to go complete crack tasks than being on crack?
This is true.
He's got to go pick up a refrigerator.
Oh, we talked about this. All right, we were talking about, this is another thing about New York City. Everybody wants to be something. Everyone wants to be a DJ. Can I tell you something? If you want to be a DJ, give yourself a year and practice, dude. Don't just jump into it. Everybody wants to be a DJ in like Bushwick or Williamsburg, and you're going to be the new like 103 Point Never, whatever, and you're going to work in like museums and work with like The Weeknd. No. Focus on your sound and polish it. This is where it goes back to. I saw a video on YouTube, and it was in Brazil, and there is a guy who picked up a fridge by himself, and he was bragging about it, and his boy in Portuguese was like, "Hey, babada," and he carries the fridge, and he's dancing with it on his back. He goes, "Hey, mira, tu cha cha, tu cha, tu cha cha, tu cha," and then like his boys around him were dancing around the guy
Right.
with the fridge, and they go, "Tu cha cha, tu cha, tu cha cha." That guy is a better DJ than half the DJs in Bushwick.
That's right.
And I got it. That's what I like. That's another thing about New York City. Everybody wants, like in LA, if everyone wants to be an actor or whatever, everybody wants to do this. Everybody wants to be a DJ here. Everybody wants to reinvent themselves and be a DJ. I come from buttfuck Ohio. I come from fucking Illinois.
Yeah.
I come from Peoria. Now I'm here and I'm gonna be a DJ. And it's like,
Or anything.
sure.
This place allows you any outlet to do whatever the fuck you want,
Which is true. But
hard for it. Some people like they they set out to do one thing and they end up getting drawn into another place because there's so many.
a lot of avenues.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah.
avenues in the city. But
Right.
even then, do it right. Polish, refine your work.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Don't just jump in and DJ. Like, actually do like little house sets in your room and then work on it.
I think what happens is a thing like DJing, a thing like stand-up comedy, a thing like almost any artistic venture. There's really no bar of entry. Anybody can do it. And there's no real set time frame when things are supposed to work. There's no set time when you're going to make your big break or whatever the fuck the case is. There's nothing there. It's literally an open landscape, whereas the workforce, trying to get a job or whatever the case is, there's a bunch of barriers. Do you have experience? Do you have a degree? Do you have, do you know somebody? Whatever. So I think that once a person sees that they can just jump into any of these things, they're willing to go in, and because of the low bar of entry, there's really a sense of beginner's luck or beginner's fortune because you can. Like, I remember the first time I got booked on a show in New York, and I was like, this is crazy. And then I just realized, I'm like, wait, all I did was hit the guy up. Like, I could have not been a comedian and just said, hey, I want to do a show. You know, like, there was... So it's easy for when you're starting out doing something like DJing or one of these other things that I mentioned, it's easy to look at it and be like, well, I've figured this out. I think I got this. I think I know what I'm doing. And you don't look at it objectively in the sense that you're still new. Like, I've been doing comedy for almost 2 years, and I don't consider myself anything but a beginner. You know, same thing with this podcast. Like, this podcast has only been around for almost 3 years, and I still consider that the infancy.
Yeah. Still working on it, you know?
Yeah, totally. But it's just to tie into what you're saying, people who don't take the time, it's like... Who's going to stop them? There's no boss to be like, you're supposed to be practicing and mixing. And
which you really should. I mean, you know, and that's the, you know, we've talked about that too, of just the artistry of certain people who do something that's so out there that it's like you can't help but be like, you have to keep going. Do you know what I mean? Like we do, again, in the Lost podcast, what have you. There we talked about... kind of innovators in jazz, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And so we were talking about, you know, my mention was of, you mentioned Bitches Brew, right, by Miles Davis, and I had mentioned Sun Ra and the entire works of Sun Ra and just what he does and just sort of, you know, jazz artist from, I believe, Chicago, and just created this entire lore and background. I mean, he's kind of considered this kind of the progenitor or like the kind of image carte blanche, or the image par excellence, I should say, of like Afrofuturism, you know? And he's this phenomenal artist. I mean, if you really want to hear something out there, the heliocentric worlds of Sun Ra has a song, Cosmic Chaos. Nuts.
Sounds like something to do drugs to.
No, you'd
the
freak
right
out.
Drugs, the hallucinogens.
Yeah, heroin. Yeah.
Or that, I guess. All right.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, imagine doing, if you do heroin, or if you inject, or if you smoke crack or whatever, and you listen to that, I think you're probably going to lose your mind.
You'd explode, you think?
Yeah, dude, it's insane. It's nuts. It really is out there, but it's like one of those where like I think you just have to sit there and appreciate how out there it is. You know, because we also talked about that too, of like there are certain artists who maybe are on the periphery or otherwise, you know, artists who maybe in the mainstream who kind of craft this sound for themselves and they perform it for an audience and they go, we don't get it. Like one of the greatest things that I feel when listening to music or even seeing performances is when someone, the look on their face when they don't understand something. It is in the structure of their mind about what constitutes art, what constitutes music or film or visual art or anything for that matter. And they encounter a piece of work that doesn't fit within that structure, and they have to piece together. You see the gears just churning, just being like, what the fuck am I watching? What am I listening to? And like that, looking at that expression on their face that represents that is profound to me.
It's gold.
Oh, yeah, because you know, you're like, what is this? Because sometimes you could be like, this is money. That's exactly what I want, you know? You see a film that you're just like, what the fuck did I just watch? Or at the same time, you listen to a song that like, that's your canon moment.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's like, I listened to this song and it changed everything about the way I thought about this or that. You know? And so when you get to that point, like that expression on the face, that my reaction to that expression on the face is just, I know that this is good.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if I played Sun Ra for anybody, they'd be like, what is this? And I'd be like, exactly. Your reaction is beautiful.
Well, there's tons of ways to be entertained. Tons of ways. And it doesn't always need to be something that's considered good, quote unquote good, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if you've seen this guy. I don't know his name, but he's come up on my Instagram feed a bunch. There's this man who people watch him perform, whatever, I guess if you want to call it that. And he shows up with a snare drum and a microphone, and some sticks and maybe a couple other things. And he puts the microphone like against his mouth, and then he rubs it against the snare drum, and he hits things, and he's just making noise and fucking rubbing the snare drum on his face and swinging his hair around, and people are watching, and you look at the comments, and people are like, this is stupidness, like this is absolute nonsense. What are you people paying attention to? And I'd be lying if I didn't kind of agree with them. But then you got to also think, what else do we get entertained by? Since the beginning of time, Coney Island, right down the street, people used to pay to see a woman with a beard.
Oh, yeah.
People used to pay to see midgets. Like, that was exciting to them. We watch roller derbies and cars go really fast, right? Like a bunch of fucking idiots. We're still apes. Like, people forget that we're barely out of the jungle. And you do something in front of a chimp, it's gonna jump and clap. Whoa, that was great. You crash cymbals in front of it. It's gonna, yeah, this is nice. So the point is there's tons of ways to get to be entertained.
Yeah, I mean
it's endless. That's why it's such a commodity in this country.
To be entertained.
Or to be an entertainer.
To be an entertainer, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's like there's the escapism of it all, right? You give me an hour and a half, 2 hours to forget about the shit in my life. And then at the same time, it's also, like, what is, if I am going to spend 2 to 3 hours of my time enjoying one particular thing, I better fucking, either I like the thing or it brings me some sort of satisfaction.
Yeah.
That, whether positive or negative, is still something I can do, right? Like, some people will just spend, like, doom scrolling through Twitter. That's their entertainment. And you're just looking at depressing ass news. You're getting progressively angrier. But guess what? That's just what you're spending your time on.
Right.
As opposed to, I mean, what we were talking about. I mean, obviously listening to music or jazz or, I mean, the one we were talking about, bad pieces of media. Bad movies, bad songs, quote unquote, right? The other things that were critically panned or otherwise that, I am the kind of person who doesn't really place a value judgment on that. There are certain things that I unequivocally will not like. Don't like Imagine Dragons. Don't like that band. Don't like 21 Pilots. Don't like that band. Even if you show me a shitty film, I'll still sit and watch it. Like, I asked you, what's your favorite bad film? And you said, That's My Boy.
That's My Boy.
Which Adam Sandler and
Andy Samberg.
Yeah, even that film, I'm just like, sure. Yeah, I mean, like, it's a bad film, but you like it. So, but I understand why you would like it. It's just like, it's just a bad film.
It's fun.
Off, what have
it's
you.
Stupid and fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
it's like a superhero movie. It's stupid and fun.
Like the movie, superhero movie? Like
no.
That parody?
I'm talking about, like, the Avengers, the fucking Batman and Spider-Man. Like, I am, those are pieces of media, whatever the fuck, movies. Those things, not interested at all. Never have been since I was a kid.
Never been to superhero movies.
I like The Dark Knight. The one after that was good too with Bane.
Dark Knight Rises.
Those two were fine, and the one before that were okay. But the fucking the universe, the Avengers, fucking what's the guy's name? The purple dude with the Infinity Stones.
Thanos.
Yeah,
like,
a
big Josh Brolin guy.
I'm so uninterested.
Yeah.
I live in the real world. I'm not interested in
God,
fucking...
you're not enough fantasy.
But at the same time, I know that they're movies. Like, all the movies are fake. They're fucking movies.
Yeah,
but,
someone's going to watch it. Someone's going to watch it.
And, I mean... But for me, never once was I interested. When I was a kid, I wasn't brought up on them. Because, my family are immigrants. They don't give a fuck about superhero, Superman... They didn't grow up on any of that. My dad...
They like Superbuck.
My dad grew me up on Bruce Lee movies and fucking... Bruce Lee movies. I remember as a kid watching Bruce Lee fuck people up. Mm-hmm. And then there was one movie where he had like a co-star, this black dude with an afro. And he was in the room with two naked Asian chicks. Mm-hmm. Their titties out and everything, and I'm like 7 years old watching.
Yeah, this is
I'm like,
awesome.
This is great, Dad.
My dad's so sweet.
This is what's gonna ruin me as an adult.
It's true. Well, I mean, I put it this way, right? Those are the pieces of media that you grew up with, and that's what you like. I was never a fantasy guy. Never liked Lord of the Rings. Never liked any of that.
Me either.
But I was really into porn. No.
Sure. No. I like fantasy porn.
Fantasy, Jesus, like Lord of the Rings.
The ones that you ever see like the crazy, I mean, I don't watch any of it. But there's like, there's those crazy like cartoon porns, and they're like, if you didn't think porn could get any hotter, and it's like some necromancer with a 15-inch throbbing cock, fucking some tiny blue woman.
That's nuts.
Yeah, there's plenty of that.
Like shit like that's insane. Like
it's like computer generated.
Yeah, or like you see like porn parodies.
Yeah.
For instance, that were always really like.
That's just a complete aping of an already disgusting
the
thing.
Apification of pornography. I guess. But no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, even any piece of media that entertains you to go back to that from porn to media, baby.
Back to what you were saying about it being a means of distraction.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this the other day. How there's been. It's almost like once we get used to something, one of the distractions that the Matrix makes for us, they switch it up. Once we figure out how we can kind of mitigate it, or the technology's old, like for example, the printing press. Mm-hmm. Now you can get information in a week, right? People are enamored. Oh my God, it's a newspaper. We know things now all the time. This is great. Not realizing the power that whatever media it is has over you once they're able to do that. But anyway, printing press. Then it was fucking radios. Now everyone sits around the radio and listens to the Lone Ranger and smokes cigarettes in the house and blows it in their kid's face because that was before they knew anything was wrong. Oh, yeah. And then television, the biggest one, right, before smartphones. Television had people fucking just... eyes dilated, mouth open, eating, consuming, commercials, watching mindless shit. Fahrenheit 451, basically. And then now it's phones. And then next is AI sneakers. Like
AI sneakers.
Next is something crazy, you know?
I mean, you brought up something that's interesting about this is like kind of professor from Canada, like mid 20th century. His name was Marshall McLuhan, and he had written a myriad of books. But one of the biggest things that he had ever said, and I believe it was The Extensions of Man, he talks about how the medium is the message. It's not the content on the medium itself, right? Like it's not about the television. It's like watching CNN or whatever on television. It's not like watching a television show that you're focused on. It's about the medium itself. How does television change the way that we perceive, knowledge, the way that we perceive information, right? So I'm thinking of like pre-industrial revolution, the moments where, you send a letter by the Pony Express or what have you, and you get in like a week or so. Like information moved quite slowly. And then with the sort of inception and the invention of a lot of, quicker transportation systems, now like time and space goes so quickly, a lot quicker than what we had perceived before.
Yes.
That it gets to a point where it affects the way that we now perceive information and how we want, like now we want things happening quickly. We want things happening now, quick, right? We want a quick, and that's a quick pace of life as a result of the technologies that we've invented, right? Lowercase t, for instance. Everything that we have in our life, like the people think of computers and AI and smartphones and so on and so on. But no, I mean like locomotives, right? And cars and even pieces of information that really can be sent at a moment's notice, right? You send an email and someone's going to get it within 5 to 10 seconds. Right. And so those like that quick transferring of information, of data, of knowledge, of whatever you want to say happens at such a quick rate that it does change the way that we perceive the world around us. Time and space gets, in a way, a lot more, I mean, I don't know if condensed is the proper term, but we want things happening at an accelerated rate. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that when McLuhan said that, I think that was sort of his idea of it. Is just our perception of the world around us is fundamentally changed because of these inventions, of these communication technologies.
Right. Definitely. I mean, back to what we were talking about as far as entertainment being such a commodity. Anybody can be famous. Everyone's trying, and it's for relatively nothing. And if you are famous or have been famous, now we have access. We have unlimited access to this person.
Yeah.
Because you can't not have a social media. I mean, unless you're Dave Chappelle or one of these guys that are grandfathered in. But if you're just at the beginning, you need to be giving as much of yourself to everybody all the time because that's what everyone's doing, number one. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone's looking for, like you're saying. And really, the pipeline of information that we have now, it's never been greater. It's never been faster. It's really a revolutionary time when it comes for people knowing things. But because of that, and to your point, it's easy for people to be. It's just as easy for people to be misinformed.
100%.
Because
people don't fact check.
People don't fact check, and you get hit so quicker than anything, quicker than the news. Mm-hmm. Like, you could watch the news now, and, 5 minutes before that, 10 minutes before that, you already got a thing on your phone about what they're going to talk about in the news now. Mm-hmm. And while they're talking about whatever they're talking about, you're getting all new updates. So I that's interesting that it really does warp time, because if you lived in a mountain somewhere or in a fucking field and you didn't pay attention to the news, every once in a while you rode into town or something and picked up a newspaper and you're like, oh, that's what they're doing now. And you just throw it to the side and you go back and till your land or whatever the fuck you do.
Till the day you die.
You wouldn't, I mean, your days are literally longer. Your days are not taken up by, you're not inundated. You're not as inundated. You have to be in the moment because you're. In my mind, I'm thinking of a person that lives off the grid. They're staring at a waterfall, and when they're not doing that, they're working at something that makes sense, right? Like we do a job that's like the chain of events for us to live doesn't make sense. Let me see if I can get this out to you. We work a job. Say you work a 9 to 5. You sit in an office, all right, and you send emails. You do office admin shit, right? That's your job, and you do that so that you can get enough money to buy food and to live in your house and to do all these things. How does sitting in an office sending emails correlate to living when there's some guy in a mountain that's hunting? Directly correlates to living. He's chopping wood because he needs a fire to stay warm. Directly correlates to living. He's farming. He's, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's building shit on his own because he has to.
Yeah.
That's just it. In my mind, it plugs in. It makes more sense,
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's correct, but I mean, for me, it's, obviously.
That's an extreme. Nobody's going to, No. I'm not saying that.
But there are individuals who do. They want to do that, obviously.
Right, right.
I mean, you see those guys on YouTube. This is another thing that's funny. These guys on YouTube, right, who, there's one gentleman I'm thinking of he just lives off the grid, I think, like half the year.
Yeah.
And he just builds shit, right? He was, like, I think the originator of, like, that, like, genre of, like, YouTube videos that's just, like, he's just this guy building shit off grid, right? And now everybody's doing it, right? Even people who are, like, they're, like, glamming up, living in the open, but that guy actually did it. And what was interesting is he's doing that because that's his escape. Do you know what I mean? He's recording himself just to record the process, but like he's not talking at all, and he's doing that. And then guess what? We spend our time watching this guy wanting to separate from the world, and the only reason why we know he even wants to do it in the first place is because he actually posted on YouTube being like, hey, this is how I build my hut. This is how I build these particular tools or what have you.
Right.
And I mean, for him, that probably lasted eons. It probably felt like, or maybe to a certain point in time, he just got accustomed to that. The ebbs and flows of time space when you're in the jungles or when you're in a remote area, as opposed to us where we watch that guy. I mean, he's building something for an hour and a half, and we sit there stoned out of our minds for an hour and a half. Next thing we know, oh, it's like 9 p.m. We spend our whole day on YouTube videos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Especially now. I mean, TikTok changed the game.
Yeah, I mean the attention spans. Yeah.
Swipe. Every app has done it. YouTube,
Every app has done
Instagram.
it. Yeah, it's one of those. And the interface. I mean, it's one of the easiest things to keep people on your app. Just consistent streams of content.
Bread and circus, like the
and
Romans.
Continue. Go on. Continue.
Give them bread and circus, and they'll pay no mind, more or less.
In a way, yeah.
So Romans had the fucking Colosseum. That was, or the Parthenon for the other ones, the Greeks, the Olympics and whatnot. And they had abundance. It's kind of where we're at now. Hyper abundance, hyper fucking entertainment, bread and circus to the max. 21st century bread and circus.
I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you could even say, people talk about, for example, the Supreme Court justice, their decision, their ruling to strike down what Biden's sort of the loan forgiveness sort of program, completely removed that, and the kind of reaction that I had heard from people was just like, oh, that fucking sucks. It's fucking lame, but it's like, what are you going to do about it? And like, no one really, there are certain plans of action, but at the same time, like, you're always, again, that's the thing, is there are people out there who are going to be completely satisfied with the bread and circus.
Oh yeah,
so satisfied. They're like, why are you complaining about this? Why are you complaining about this? Like you hear people be like, well, it's not fair for the other people who paid, they paid their loans out. It's not fair for them. It's that kind of selfish kind of ideal of I already have my bread. Right, I already have that. I already have my entertainment, or at the very least, I already have my the things in my life that give me that satisfaction to keep going. And every inalienable right that I'm having taken away, or my neighbor's rights being taken away, I don't give a shit about that because I still have.
Because I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then what happens when you're not good? And then you're gonna start bitching and complaining. Too little, too late.
That's the argument, I guess. Like between. Like, do you sacrifice for the group, or do you keep the integrity of the individual? It's tough. I think it's a tough argument.
Yeah.
Because, I'm all for individual rights. But if you're going to have a society, a functioning society, one that's led by a group of people, you kind of need to make decisions for the better of the group. And the problem with that is the people who lead the group, there's a hierarchy.
Definitely a hierarchy.
So they're going to, in my mind, they're going to corrupt. They're going to make things better for themselves.
Bends in their favor.
While maintaining some kind of equilibrium for everyone else.
I mean, quote unquote equilibrium.
Right.
That's that thing.
Right,
like, obviously, not everybody has, like, people are like, well, it's all, affirmative action being knocked away. And they're like, it should just be your own merits. And it's just like, no.
When has it ever been that?
When has it ever been? Yeah, exactly. When has it
what
ever
about
been?
when,
and now this is it's your fool. I would go as far as say it's foolish and even delusional to think, well, now people are just going to get on their own merits now. Now everybody's going to go.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, the legacy admissions, right? Like your parents went to Yale and your parents went to Yale. And guess what? You're probably going to get into Yale. Do you know what I mean?
When your dad donated a fucking library to the school.
Exactly. And dude, like, have you read John F. Kennedy's his answers to the prompts by Harvard? He's like, I want to get into Harvard. I think I'm good enough. JFK. He wrote a piss poor fucking paper, but guess what? Parents went to Harvard.
Of course.
And he also comes from that political family. So, of course, he was going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, so it wasn't on his fucking merit. So any argument that I hear about that is just so, again, foolish, delusional. Because you think that now that this happened is going to turn in your favor. No, you're going to be the little fish that gets eaten up.
There's very few meritocracies across the board. There's very few of them. Yeah. I don't know if there's... Shit. I can't think of any that really come to mind. If you got enough money...
Yeah.
Like...
I mean, you probably get. I mean, if you work at like a Trader Joe's for like 5 years, you probably get like.
You might get an ice cream party.
Yeah, you get like 25% off as opposed to 15.
Yeah. They'll get you
know.
an Amazon gift card for $30.
I'll take 50.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, very few meritocracies. It's what people say the United States, but no.
I'm saying
Trader Joe's, maybe.
in terms of like institutions and career paths, there's very few. I mean, if I went, let's say I applied for a job and I had a bunch of merit, right? I came from some family that nobody knows. They were broke, but I was able to do really well in school, and I got scholarships and whatever else, and I did well, and I applied. But this other kid that applied, his dad went to college with the guy who's hiring everybody. There's
That guy's going to help you out.
decent chance that kid gets the nudge before I do.
Absolutely.
And that's just one sense. I mean, I guess maybe, I don't even want to say in music, like in artistry, not even.
No, you get a lot of
not
industry
even. It's
plants.
all, yeah, it's
Gracie
all.
Abrams, or I mean, that guy from the 1975, that lead singer, who has a lot of,
That's a
very
shitty
interesting-
band, too.
But his parents were famous. Everybody that you see, your Claro's like this cutesy little indie girl, but her dad's like a Coca-Cola executive. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like all those little like indie fucking kids, right now, like the Strokes. Even those guys are fucking rich ass. They're rich motherfuckers. Rich motherfuckers. Like they're
get a massive head
cosplaying
start.
being poor. They're cosplaying being grungy, dirty guys. They can afford to be dirty.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? They can
Yes.
do that, as opposed to other people where it's like you came from the mud, right? So I mean, music, no, there is no meritocracy.
Yeah.
You get a guy who blows up. You get a SoundCloud rapper who beats the system,
But it's
or
rare.
you get Mac Miller who releases his mixtapes, and then out of nowhere it's like, this guy's on the up and up. Do you know what I mean? But for the most part, these kids have connections, right? It's like when you look at a bunch of fucking actors, right? Significant amount of actors and directors and everything. Even now, where do they all go? They went to Tisch, dude. They went to NYU. They went to fucking Tisch, and they all knew each other.
Yeah.
All had connections. They all got into each other's shit. And
Yep.
like that's how you do it. It's all about who you know. Mm-hmm. Which is just the way of the world. But it's also like don't sell me on the meritocracy thing.
Right.
Because nobody.
If you just work hard, that's the biggest lie we've been told. If you just work hard enough and you believe.
Everyone's fucking working on their craft.
Yeah.
Everyone's
doing it. What do you
it.
think?
Yeah.
Nobody's heard of that
You think
before?
we're all
Like-
fucking bums? No,
Yeah.
dude. Like, some people are fucking lazy pieces of shit. Absolutely. But there are people who are absolutely just grinding it out, and they still get the short end of the stick. And then you just meet a motherfucker who waltzes into their position.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody's had a boss where it's like, why the fuck do you have this position? He knows the guy.
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah.
He's like a buddy. Fuck. All right.
You got to know.
You do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And so it's just one of those. But, I mean, nevertheless, it's, you make do.
Now, your family being from another country, did they make a big point of you getting a degree? They really wanted that to happen? No, that was all you.
They didn't know. They didn't know, dude. Like, my family had dude, I went to like a nice fucking undergrad, and fucking my family didn't even know what it was. They had no fucking clue at all. Like, I went to fucking UC Berkeley, right? This little, it's a great school, absolutely. Told my whole family, and they're like, "Where's that at?" It's right by San Francisco. No, nice. You're gonna be in San Francisco. My mom was just happy I went to college.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? She was just happy I went to school. That was all they wanted, that I just went to school. And I went to Berkeley, and they were like, that's a good school, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty nice school.
Yeah.
Right? But at the same time, they were just happy that I not only went to school, but like I would be a good person, that I'd be kind and helpful, and I try to be charitable, and try to be self-effacing, try to be humble about what you do, but don't let anyone push you around. These very strong kind of values, right? And it's a lot more, sweet and earnest than it actually is. Obviously there's toxic behaviors that kind of get passed down, things you got to
Right.
work through. But at the same time, like they weren't big on the degree as much as it's just do good in life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Do good, be good, just get a degree, make money, and if you can, pay some bills, but just do what you want to do. That's why we're sacrificing. That's why my mom sacrificed so much. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And so when shit like that happens, all you can do is just want to either repay them, right, tenfold, or take that advice and absolutely run with it. And which is what I'm trying to do. You know, you try to be good, you try to be positive, you try to, you know, it's all about, I mean, for me, it's all about, you know, you got to punch up. Do you know what I mean? Just really, you know, the powers that be, you know, politicians or any, you know, these kind of institutions that, you know, I feel like definitely in the United States, anybody can probably tell you this. A lot of people in the United States have no faith in their institutions.
Oh, right.
And the education
Especially
system
now.
and their government. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely now. With the Supreme Court justice and their rulings, and it's just like, it's against people's interests. It really is. And all you do is bitch and complain, and maybe you don't do anything about that. But, like, that's the thing is, like, we're beaten down so much, especially in this country, that, I mean, you got to a point where nobody has any faith. And the people who do, it's almost like...
delusional.
It almost feels delusional. Like, you in a way, you believe in the ideal more than the reality of it because you bought into the delusion. It's a lot easier instead of like, you know, what's that? I mean, that movie you seen the movie Head of State?
I haven't.
Chris Rock. There's like that one politician that he's running against, and he goes, "God bless America," and nowhere else, right? And then Chris Rock goes, "God bless America," and then God bless every other place. You know, it tries to be a little bit more, I think, egalitarian, but it's one of those where you're like, yeah, you have to. I mean, yeah, like, you know, you can love the place you live in. What that Immortal Technique line, I love the place I live in, but I hate the people in charge. You could do that as well, right? You could respect and enjoy the sort of inalienable rights that you quote unquote should have in the United States. You can appreciate, you know, and you can acknowledge the racist past of the United States and try to get better. But again, you have to acknowledge shit like that, dude. You can't just like, fuck, well, you know, people are just fucking ungrateful. And it's just like, if they're ungrateful, then what the fuck are you? Like, you know, burying your head in the sand.
Right.
And just not acknowledging. Like, it's, you know, it's a lot more, I think it's a lot more, that's what I mean, right? It's like sad songs. It's a lot more beautiful and a lot more profound to just say that something is what it is and then acknowledge it, because at the very least you're real about it.
Right.
You're truthful about it. And I think at that point I think that would make people a lot more patriotic. If you legitimately were like, this country fucking stinks, but you want to know something? We'll fucking try. We're going to fucking try. Whether we die at the end of it, we're going to try and make this country better. And like shit like that, I think makes people a lot more patriotic. But then at the same time, there's a lot of other people who are like, don't want to acknowledge that, don't want to talk about that. People are just ungrateful, right? They're very close-minded in that regard. Liberal and conservative, very close-minded in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's the system, all the systems, like you said, and nobody has any, especially after the pandemic, nobody has any faith in any of them. And nobody looks at things objectively. I think part of why our media does such a bad job is because they're instructed to make sure that everyone knows that there are bad things happening, but America's still the best. America's still the best place. You don't got to worry about it. You don't have to worry about the neighboring country invading. We got things under control. And as time goes on, everyone's seeing the cracks. Everyone's seeing the problems with the system. And it's stuff that's been talked about forever. I mean, now people want to talk about them. I mean, they've been saying it for a long time, but it's all the same arguments. The military-industrial complex, the drug problems, the mental health, the public health care, the public education that doesn't exist, these things that don't, that everybody wants to find a way to make happen, but because of the rigid ideology that's been implemented in creating this country, the idea that everyone has personal freedom and the government, you don't want government, you want as little government as possible and the whole thing, but at the same time, there's violence problems and there's all these things. There's cities that were once great that are now cesspools. There's infrastructure problems all across the fucking country, neglected areas, and there's been no accountability, and there's been just business as usual. We're going to keep doing it the exact same way. We're not going to look at it in the face at all. We're just going to keep doing it this way, ride it out, and hopefully the end isn't as bad as everyone, but it might. Thinks.
Yeah, I mean,
it might be bad.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even what's his name, Gore Vidal. I think he was the first one that I heard referred to the United States as an empire.
Oh, yeah.
Much like the Roman Empire, it's going to fall.
Oh,
and like
yeah.
everybody talks about that, the United States, the American Empire, will sooner or later fall. And like
Sure.
it's just one of those where like you could be rah patriot about this country all you want, but you also have to definitely realize that like this country might completely fall apart. Maybe within our lifetimes, maybe in the next lifetime, but like it's one of those where like really if you don't acknowledge these like widespread things, like shit's gonna collapse.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people who've sort of done their research, I think a lot of historians even would probably say something similar to that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's unsustainable.
Unsustainable.
Our whole economy is based on fucking up brown countries, rebuilding them, making them indebted to us. Like, that's mostly the whole thing. And then as far as the rest of the economy goes, that's half the economy. The other half is based on us. It's based on us working. It's based on us buying. And the more of both, the more people who have ridiculous amounts of wealth, the better it is for the entire economy. The more enemies we have, the better. I always make the joke. I'm like, do you want gas to be under $3? Or do you want to sleep well at night knowing that there isn't a bunch of kids in Syria getting bombed? Mm-hmm. What do you actually want?
Yeah.
Because you can have one or the other. You can't have both, you know? Yeah, it's definitely. Now, I asked back to the old question because we went on a bit of a tangent there. A good one. I asked you about whether your immigrant family cared about getting a degree because I feel that you get a certain education from being from immigrant parents. Like, for example, your response was fantastic. One that I resonate with as well, in that they more so wanted you to be a good person, respect yourself and the people around you and whatever. And I think that's because immigrants are some of the best people at playing the game because they have to be, right? Like, for example, my grandmother, and I'm sure your family had similar situations like this. My grandmother, any person that she dealt with, any person that helped her out, a doctor, a lawyer, a boss that she liked, every Christmas was getting a tray of Italian Christmas cookies. All the time with a card. Same thing on your birthday. You're going to get something because there's a connection to be made, and you need it because you're in a foreign place. You need allies. So they're very good at playing the game. And my family was big on the degree because they were like, it gives you something. It gives you an edge. Like it gives you I guess a leg up. Little did they know that a degree now is kind of...
That's where you get it from.
Right.
People you know as a result of getting a degree. Definitely.
Exactly. But to them, it was like the end-all, be-all. Like, you get a degree, you're going to get a good job. Because they worked awful jobs, landscaping and dishwashing.
Maybe a lot of manual labor.
They're like, you want a job? Like, when I was a kid, they'd say things like, you don't want to work. You don't want to work like I do. My dad would say when he would do landscaping, he's like, you don't want to work like I do. You want to work in an office with an air conditioning and a suit and a tie. Little did they know the type of person I'd become when I got older.
And not only that, it's fucking true. But not only that, but like people sometimes don't want it. People hate the fucking 9 to 5.
Totally.
I have friends who are quitting 6-figure jobs, dude. They're quitting 6-figure jobs because, like, you can't do this. I'm working for a fucking soulless company, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. It's a factory. And I can't do that. And, like, I have friends who are just abandoned. They're just like, I'll figure it out, dude. I'll find another job. But, like, can't do this. And, like, you can't blame them in a way. You really can't. Like, it's easy for you to sit down on the armchair and go, well, these guys are fucking dumb, dude. You had a good gig going. Like, what the fuck? And it's like, no, dude. Like, you need that satisfaction in your work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You need that sort of end result, that product, beyond making this company money, and then you get a nice little bonus at the end. Like,
Yeah.
all right, that bonus can only take me so much.
Benefits, yeah.
Exactly. Right? And so you have to, obviously parents are going to want to say that. You want a nice little cushy office job. But, like, for me, it's like I want my nice little job just to pay my mom's bills. That's, like, what I give a shit about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll be a janitor for like $80K a year if it means that I could pay my
That's a
mom
hell of a
bills.
fucking janitor. Is that what they're paying janitors now?
No, but if they do, I'd be pretty happy with that, right? Like that's
pretty
kind of,
goddamn good.
It's what you want, you know. Like for me, it's like, what is the one thing that'll give you that satisfaction? For me, like work's work, man. It's a fucking job. I'm not gonna slave away over a job unless it's something that I find beautiful.
Right.
Like being a professor, being a teacher, a doctor, nurse, whatever. But even then, like, I mean, everybody says, you know, some of the most dirtbag women you've ever gone to high school with, they're nurses right now.
Yeah,
Do
they
you know
got
what I mean?
cigarette burns in their
Yeah,
arms.
the worst, the C average student who was never gonna play another game of football after high school. Guess what? That guy's a cop in your
He's a
hometown,
cop.
and
That's right.
you know that guy stinks. You
That's
know
another
he's
job.
yeah.
That's another one that is like should be much more respected, and the training for it should be more rigorous. But it's like a fallback thing. It's like some guy's like 32 and he's like, well, my DJing career never took off. I'm going to go be a cop in Johnston.
Hey,
Johnston, Rhode Island. That's the town next to where we grew up.
Sheesh.
Me and Kevin.
Where the fuck is Warwick?
Warwick is a little southern. It's where the airport is. When you used to fly into
Is that
TF Green. TF Green, they'd call it Providence Airport, but you'd fly into Warwick.
Got it.
Yeah.
Was that the best part about Warwick? Is leaving Warwick?
Oh my God. It's
It's a pit.
yeah.
That's what
I
you
don't have
said.
enough. I don't have enough bad things to say about Warwick.
I don't have enough.
I could write a book. I might write a book, just for shits and giggles. My first published work will be me shit talking Warwick for 300 pages.
You could do that. You know, that would be what's that Cat Williams special where he just talks about Jacksonville, Florida for like half his special?
It'll be like the Tao Te Ching, but for Warwick.
Yeah,
The backwards philosophy of Warwick. Sit outside liquor stores and smoke cigarettes
all day.
throughout the day. Play Keno. Like,
Are you serious?
oh my God, dude, that's all they do.
That's all they do.
It's the worst place. Have you heard of Warrack?
Is that Warwick?
Warrack.
Jeez.
There's this really cringy hip hop, I guess you want to call them, these rappers, SoundCloud rappers from Warwick. There's like a posse of them. And they've gone viral. They've gotten some views. And they're terrible. They're terrible. They're these dirty white kids who wear like these faded clothes, kind of like I'm wearing, but these like they wear these.
Yo, you look good.
Yeah, it's Warwick sucks. But if you have to fly into Rhode Island, you're gonna have to go to Warwick. Unfortunately,
Got it. I'll just bus.
that's the only airport,
I just bus.
commercial airport at least.
Sheesh.
Yeah, Warwick is a dump.
Warwick's a dump. This man says.
What
Fascinating.
what do you think's the equivalent to Warwick from where you're from?
California?
Yeah,
Many.
in your
Many.
in your realm, I guess. I'm sure there's plenty. It's the third biggest fucking state.
Okay. Let's say I was like, dude, I'm going to move to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Oh, sick, dude. Where you moving to?
Yeah.
And I'm like, moving to Warwick.
Yeah.
What would your reaction be? Would you laugh at me?
I'd laugh.
Yep.
I'd probably ask if you were serious. I'd be like, wait, you're serious? Like, actually?
If you know, there are 3 cities I think of in mind.
Yeah.
Bakersfield, Fresno, San Bernardino.
I've heard of all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was like, I'm moving to Fresno, I'd be like, what the fuck
What's
are
wrong with
you?
you?
Why do you want to be stuck back in 2002? Dude, not even the 90s. 2000. They have signs from 2002. You know what the best part about Fresno is? Driving by it to get to Yosemite. That's the best part about Fresno.
Right.
You ain't got dick in Fresno. You got the universities, and that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Fresno. I don't know much about. I know Fresno. What do they have? Like a good basketball team or something?
Sure. Fresno
Maybe.
State. Sure.
I guess, right?
Bakersfield had corn, like the band corn.
Okay.
San Bernardino is, I think, the largest city in California, if not the entire United States, that filed for, I believe it was Chapter 9 bankruptcy. 1.1 to $2 billion. Significant amount of meth.
Nice.
A lot of meth.
You need meth.
But their dispensaries are actually really good.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
really good. Like you get like a $20 eighth.
It's almost like they have meth in the weed.
Dude, you get the fucking fent that you get in there. Just nuts, dude.
Little Fent sprinkle.
Oh yeah.
You ever go to an Italian place and they come over with the Parmesan, the cheese?
That's what they do with the fent.
At the
More
weed
Fensa.
store. Would you like a little Fent? You're like, yeah, keep going. Keep going. Yep, keep going. Keep going.
Like, Jesus, Mac, you gonna be okay? I'll be all right.
That'll be $700 for this eighth. Yeah, I love a good shitty small town. I've lived in a few of them.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's a difference between like a shitty small town where you're like, there ain't much, but I like it, and then
Yeah.
like fucking Warwick, I've heard.
In Warwick.
Yeah, like
bad.
where it stinks, dude. Don't even go.
It's bad, yeah.
No, there's definitely some little towns where you're just like, what are you doing here? And you're like, dude, trust me, it's not bad.
New London, Connecticut
Yeah,
is bad.
but like
Dump.
like a good bad or
No,
just
like
bad,
like a bad. I didn't mind. I lived there for a year, and I didn't mind.
Okay,
I didn't mind it at the end. Maybe because I was leaving,
got it.
or maybe because I had also gotten used to it and made
Stockholm
friends.
syndrome, of course.
Sure. But when I first moved there, I'll tell you a quick story about the first week I moved there. Now, just to put into perspective the situation I was in, I was dating a girl who got a job in Washington, D.C., and we were going to try and do the long-distance thing. And we lived together for 2 years before, before this split-up thing happened. So now it's like whole new way of life. I'm living alone in a new place, getting a new job. My girlfriend, who I loved very much at the time, lived somewhere completely different. I'm away from my family. I'm away from my friends. I'm not that far. I'm like an hour from Providence, but still
an hour.
not right down the road.
Absolutely.
So I was in a pretty fucked up place already. And the first week that I'm in there, I had this futon set up, and I'm laying in bed, and I'm awake as fuck. I can't sleep. I'm trying to sleep, and I can't. And I'm right next to the windows. It was like these except it was kind of right across. Mm-hmm. There were like 3 windows right across, big ones like that. And right outside was the street. I live right downtown New London. Mm-hmm. It was the street, and then there was like the parking lot or whatever. And there was this, all I could hear for at least an hour was this woman who was very intoxicated. I remember hearing her a couple months after this happened, and she got snuffed out much quicker this time. But this first time, she was, for about an hour, she would park outside of my apartment building, and all she would do was beep her horn. She'd stop at the stop sign, beep her horn, scream out her window, scream the same thing. It seemed like she went through a really bad breakup, or somebody left her, or somebody cheated on her. And she was very intoxicated, screaming, all by herself in her car. He doesn't love me, and he doesn't love you. Beep, 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 and I don't love him, and nobody. And she's just screaming for a while. And I'm laying there, and after like 15 minutes, I'm like, what? It was almost like I didn't notice it. And then I sit up and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And this lady's out there screaming. And then she flies off, skirts, comes back around, does it again. Beep, beep, beep. And I love him. And he doesn't love me. And da, 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 da. And she's screaming, dude. And I'm laying there. And now she's been doing it a bunch of times. And after about maybe 40 minutes of her doing this, people are now opening their windows and screaming. Because it's late.
Yeah.
Like, hey, lady, shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut your fucking mouth. People are screaming. Screaming from their windows. And she's like, you can't make me. I don't have to. It was terrible. And from then on, all I wanted was a nuke. All I wanted was a nuke. I wanted the entire state of Connecticut, and I still do. I want it to be a landing strip for planes, for anything, for our tanks, nuclear silos. Yeah, the entire state of Connecticut is a fucking dump. The whole thing.
Suck it, Hartford.
The whole thing. I actually tweeted. I tweeted the governor I said, your state is a pile of dog shit. And he didn't say anything. But
He was not. He said it into the ether and he cried himself to sleep. He saw it and he was upset.
now, when I lived there, that was a big part of the show. That was a big part of the show. Was me shitting on Connecticut and London.
Oh, this was you did the show before them.
Oh, yeah. When I was doing it there.
Intriguing.
And I move here, right? And within the first month, I'm getting a haircut. And I'm in the barbershop. And on the TV, it says, tanker truck explodes on highway in Connecticut. Ooh. Big explosion. It was an oil tanker truck that flipped. And it was just clouds and black clouds, fire. They had to shut down. It was a bridge. It was on the Victory Highway connecting Groton, Connecticut, and New London, Connecticut. Ooh. I used to walk out of my apartment, take 30 steps, and I could look to my right and see the Victory Highway from where I lived.
Wow.
And I was not there to witness this explosion. That would have been a fantastic podcast day.
Just you shitting on this fucking place. It finally gets murked up somehow, the Victory Highway, and you're like, well, what did I say?
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
nuts, dude.
Exactly. So Connecticut's a dump.
Anyway, it's the podcast, everybody.
I will say I miss having a car because it is nice to be able to get out. Because I'm already thinking I haven't been here very long, but I want to have my freedom to be able to leave the city when I want.
Yes, you're gonna want that.
Yeah. And
train out, baby, bus out.
Train is nice, but I like driving. I'd like to go upstate,
100%.
go to the mountains, and be able to go wherever the fuck I want, whenever. Like, I only work a couple days a week, and I'm able to support myself. So if I have like 4 days in a row, I just want to fucking
just drive
to Louisiana.
Drive to Louisiana.
You guys can come, you and Kevin.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's rad. What's the vibe?
Shit, brother. Let's say we wrap this bitch up.
It's about that time.
We've gone for about 3 hours. From the beginning episode
we
to
really
now.
Have. We really, really have, dude. Well, and if you also think that Connecticut's a fucking dump, leave a comment. And
that's right. Donate to our GoFundMe.
Donate to the GoFundMe.
To bomb Connecticut.
No, we're not. Allegedly, we're not going to use the money to bomb Connecticut.
That's right.
So our lawyers have told us.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir, for hanging out.
Thank you for having me.
Rocking through this today, this roller coaster of emotions.
Fucking doing it. I've been talking for like 3 hours.
I know. That's it, motherfuckers. Talk to you next week. Peace.
Auf Wiedersehen.
It worked. It all worked this time.
Nice.
Very much good.